Years ago, when our daughters were little, my wife Laura taught them the song that says, "Oh, be careful, little eyes, what you see, and oh, be careful, little ears, what you hear." Living in such a world as we do, maybe we want to go back and revisit that song, sing it some more, and apply it to our lives. Hi, I'm Barry Phillips, and this is 10-Minute Torah. Day number 2, the Torah portion, Nitzavim. Let's go to the book of Ibrim, or Deuteronomy, chapter number 29, and let's begin reading with verse number 16. For you know how we dwelt in the land of Nitzavim, how we passed through the nations which you passed through. And you saw their abominations and their idols, wood and stone, silver and gold, which were with them. Lest there should be among you a man or a woman or a clan or tribe, whose heart turns away today from Yahweh our Elohim to go and serve the mighty ones of these nations. Lest there be among you a root bearing bitterness or wormwood. And it shall be, when he hears the words of this curse, that he shall bless himself in his heart, saying, I have peace, though I walk in the stubbornness of my heart, in order to add drunkenness to thirst. Moshe goes on to say, such a one is not going to find forgiveness. It seems almost paradoxical to me that we strive to hear and to see Yah, to see his handiwork, to seek his face, to find his favor, his pleasure, to seek him out in his ways. And that seems to be difficult at times to attain to. And yet the evil in this world is laid on our doorstep. It's broadcast into our homes. It's available on the internet through social media. Even just going out in public to a restaurant or to a place of business. There are times that blatant worldliness, for the lack of a better term, even idolatries are thrust at us, thrown in our vision. It's almost as if we need to put on a very dark pair of sunglasses lest we see. So we live in a world that is filled with the fruit from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Man has sought his own way, found his own way, approved his own way, and is living out his hedonistic desires as he would. Those of us who seek to walk a different path, who seek to walk uprightly, seeking out to obey the commands and the concepts of the Torah and apply them to our lives, we're finding less and less room for ourselves to do so, it would seem. So, it would seem. But Yah has not changed. Man has changed. Oh, have we ever changed? And our moral boundaries have ever expanded. Yah's have never moved. They are still exactly where they were when he put them in place. So we have this great decision to make for ourselves. Are we going to walk according to the power and to the ways of this present age? Be acceptable, applauded, encouraged, and congratulated? Or we're going to be among the narrow, limited number of the few who find a very straight gate, who walk a very different path, but whose hopes and ambitions are not of this present age, but of that one which is yet to come. So why would we think that Yah has changed? He hasn't. His perspective on idolatry, and when we talk about idolatry, we're not just talking about a Buddha statue sitting in your house somewhere, or some talisman that you may choose to hang around your neck. It's anything or anyone that we would place before the supremacy and the superiority of Yah in our lives. It can be a family member, it can be occupation, certainly it can be money and possessions, it could be a pastime, a hobby, it could be an indulgence that we just refuse to give up. It can be a long list of things. But these idols, such as they exist, they all have one common trait, and that is Yah's perspective on them. Here he uses the word abominations in verse number 17. The idea of abomination is, if I can say this correctly, shikutzim, which means to stink. And he also refers to them as detestable, gelurim. This word is disgusting, hold on to yourself here, like excrement. So now we have Yah's perspective. In Ezekiel chapter 4, verse 12 through 5, the prophet is called upon to demonstrate Yah's disgust with his own people by cooking his food with human dung, not mixing the dung in it, but using it as his fuel source. The prophet raises objections, and Yah relents to allow him to use animal dung. Indeed, you can take what we as children on Grandpa's farm called cow pies, cow chips, if you will, buffalo chips, and they will be available as a fuel source. It does work. The aroma may not be very pleasing, but it will work. But it's a disgusting practice, and the problem is that you and I can get to the place where we grow accustomed to the smell. My family and I lived in a little paper mill town in our first church ministry for 5.5 years. And the smell of a paper mill, it was something that we never really got used to. Those that had grown up there said it's our bread and butter. We've gotten used to the smell and we don't mind it. Well, we did. There is another paper mill within an easy driving distance. And if the wind blows just right, even here where we're at now, the breeze can kind of bring that aroma slightly, and you catch a faint whiff of, yeah, I think I smell it. A few miles down the road somewhere, there is a landfill. And again, if the wind blows just right, that unpleasant, decaying aroma, well, it just catches your attention. The problem is that we can learn to live in filth, learn to live with a detestable, disgusting smell long enough that we become desensitized to it. There is a warning here in the Torah that we never get to the place where we're desensitized to the idols, to the things that disgust Yah. To do so is to bring us to a conclusion or to such an existence that we become bitter. The word here warns us that lest there be among you a root bearing bitterness or wormwood. In the writings of Jeremiah, chapter number 23, if you read verse 10 through 21, you will see that false prophets have been prophesying to Yah's people and leading them astray. The result is that Yah is not only rejecting the prophets, but the people who are listening to them. And he says, I'm going to give them bitter waters and wormwood. When we go to the book of Revelation, chapter 8, verse 10 through 11, we see that there is evidently a meteor of some sort that hits the earth and poisons waters and turns them into bitterness. Remember, the bitter waters is the test of the soda, the unfaithful bride, or at least the bride who is appearing to be unfaithful. These are hours of bitterness. The idolatry of this present age seeks to vex us, render us angry and upset and bitter in our spirit. The goal is to remain righteous, upstanding, and filled with the joy of Yah, no matter what the evil of the world around us is trying to accomplish. This last verse that we've read says that the problem becomes one who says, well, I see the curse for those who yield to idolatry, for those that accept the ways of this world, but tell themselves, I have peace with Elohim and I'm going to be all right. It's one thing to be drunken, that is, to sin accidentally, but then to add it to satisfying your thirst, intentional sins. Yah is going to judge such a one who refuses to repent, who is captivated by this world, allows the bitterness to overwhelm them, accepts it for what it is, and becomes desensitized. Remain sensitive to His Spirit and walk in that today. We'll talk more about these things tomorrow, and until then, shalom.